replay the same conversation for hours or keep reconsidering one decision, your mind may be working hard, but it may not be getting anywhere. It keeps asking, what if I chose wrong? Why did I say that? What happens next? At first, it feels like problem solving. You may believe that if you think a little longer, you will finally find the answer. But what if the extra thinking is part of the problem? In this video, we'll look at why the brain gets stuck in negative thought loops. You'll learn how to recognize the main types of overthinking, why they feel so useful, and what you can do when your thoughts keep going in circles. And near the end, I'll give you 3 questions that can help you recognize when your mind is solving a problem and when it is only repeating one. You know, thinking is not bad. We need thinking to plan, learn, make decisions, and understand. If you are preparing for an important conversation, thinking about what you want to say can be useful. If you made a mistake, reflecting on it can help you learn. If you have an important decision to make, comparing your options makes sense. The problem begins when thinking stops producing new information. You keep returning to the same memory. You keep creating new versions of the same future. You keep looking for a level of certainty that may not be possible. That is when thinking can turn into repetitive negative thinking. In simple terms, the same negative ideas keep coming back without leading to a clear decision or useful action. This is where overthinking starts to feel like a trap. But why does the trap feel so useful in the first place? The brain does not like uncertainty. When something feels unresolved, the mind naturally tries to close the gap. It looks for more information. It reviews the past. It imagines possible outcomes. It tries to predict what other people may think. This can create a temporary feeling of control. You may not have solved the problem, but you feel like you are doing something about it. That feeling can keep the loop going. For example, imagine that you sent a message to someone and they did not reply. You start thinking about the message. Then you think about the sentence before it. Then you remember an older conversation. Soon, you are not trying to understand one message anymore. You are trying to create complete certainty about the entire relationship. But every new thought creates another question. What if they misunderstood me? What if they are upset? What if I should explain myself? The mind keeps working, but the situation does not become clearer. This is the important difference. Mental activity is not the same as progress. One common form of overthinking is getting stuck in the past. You replay a mistake, a conversation, or an uncomfortable moment. You may ask, why did I do that? Why didn't I notice it earlier? What would have happened if I had acted differently? Reflecting can be useful when it leads to a lesson, but sometimes the mind keeps searching for a different past. It tries to mentally return to the moment and change the ending. The problem is that the past cannot be edited. You can learn from it, you can apologize, you can make a different choice next time, but you cannot think your way into changing what already happened. This is why replaying the same event rarely brings peace. The mind may be looking for a perfect explanation, but even a perfect explanation cannot rewrite the event. So if your thoughts keep returning to something that has already happened, ask, am I learning something new, or am I trying to change the past? That question can reveal whether reflection has turned into rumination. But not all overthinking looks backward. Sometimes it keeps trying to predict what has not happened yet. The second common pattern is worry. Worry looks forward. It creates possible problems and tries to prepare for all of them. What if I fail? What if something goes wrong? What if people judge me? Some planning is useful. Planning identifies a problem and chooses a next step. Worry often continues after the useful steps are finished. It keeps asking for more certainty. The difference is simple. Planning asks, what can I do? Worry asks, how can I make sure nothing goes wrong? The first question can lead to action. The second question may have no final answer. You can prepare carefully and still feel uncertain. You can make a good decision and still wonder if another choice would have been better. You can care about someone and still not know exactly what they are thinking. Worry tries to remove all uncertainty before you move, but life rarely gives you that much certainty. At some point, you have to act with incomplete information, and this leads to another form of overthinking. Some people get stuck because they are trying to make the perfect decision. They compare every option. They search for more reviews. They ask more people. They imagine every possible consequence. Then they find a new doubt. The decision feels too important to make imperfectly, so they keep thinking instead of choosing. This can lead to analysis paralysis. The mind treats more analysis as protection. It says, if I think long enough, I can avoid regret. But no decision can remove all risk, and no amount of thinking can guarantee that you will never feel unsure afterward. A useful decision does not always feel completely comfortable. Sometimes it simply gives you enough information to choose a direction. The question is not, can I be 100% certain? The better question is, do I have enough information to take the next reasonable step? That question moves you from endless analysis toward action. But how can you tell which loop you are in? 3 questions that create distance. When you notice your mind repeating the same thought, ask yourself 3 questions. Question 1. Is this giving me new information? If the thought is helping you understand something new, pay attention to it. If it is only repeating the same idea, notice that too. You can say, this thought feels important, but it is not giving me new information. Question 2. Is there a real action I can take? If there is something useful you can do, write it down. Make the action small and clear. You might send the message, prepare for the conversation, set a deadline, ask for the information you need. But if there is no useful action, continuing to think may not help. You may be trying to solve uncertainty instead of solving a problem. Question 3. What is actually under my control right now? You may not control what someone thinks of you. You may not control what happens tomorrow. You may not be able to change what you said yesterday. But you may control whether you send another message. You may control how you prepare. You may control where you place your attention for the next few minutes. This is the shift from mental activity to useful action. The goal is not to force the thought away. It is to create enough distance to choose your response. Do you need to think less? Not necessarily. The goal is not to think less at all times. The goal is to notice when thinking has stopped helping. You can also create distance by changing the way you describe the thought. Instead of saying, I am going to fail, try, I am having the thought that I might fail. That small change does not prove the thought is false. It simply reminds you that a thought is not the same as a fact. You can also write down 4 things. What happened? What am I feeling? What am I assuming? What is one next step? This separates facts from predictions. It separates emotions from conclusions. And it gives the mind somewhere more useful to go. You may still feel uncertain afterward. That is normal. The goal is not to create perfect certainty. The goal is to stop feeding a loop that is not moving you forward. Does intelligence cause overthinking? Intelligence does not automatically cause overthinking. A person can be intelligent and still struggle with worry, perfectionism, or uncertainty. And a person who overthinks is not necessarily more intelligent. What often matters more is the relationship a person has with uncertainty. If you believe that every decision must be perfect, thinking will continue for a long time. If you believe that every uncomfortable feeling must be explained, your mind will keep searching. The problem is not that your brain is too active. The problem may be that your brain has learned to treat uncertainty as something that must be eliminated. But uncertainty is part of life. No amount of thinking can remove all of it. When overthinking becomes a real problem, occasional overthinking is common. But it deserves more attention when it repeatedly affects your sleep, work, studies, relationships, or ability to make decisions. It may also be useful to seek professional support if your thoughts feel impossible to control or create intense distress. You do not need to wait until everything becomes unbearable. Understanding your thoughts can help, but understanding alone is not always enough. Sometimes, support from a qualified professional can help you understand the pattern and build better ways to respond to it. The way out of overthinking is not always to think harder. Sometimes, the next step is to create distance from the thought. Ask yourself, am I finding a new answer? Or am I repeating an old question? If you are solving a real problem, choose one clear action. If you are searching for impossible certainty, notice the loop. Name it. Let the thought be there without giving it unlimited attention. You do not have to stop thinking completely. You only need to recognize when thinking has stopped helping you move forward. If you often replay the past, predict the future, or get stuck trying to make the perfect decision, share your experience in the comments. Which loop feels most familiar to you? Replaying the past, worrying about the future, or struggling to make a decision? And remember, Your mind can be working hard without making progress. The goal is not to think less at all costs. The goal is to think in a way that helps you return to life.